We have an exciting guest presentation today from Dr. Illich and some special guests, and we'll continue to do a recognition of a couple of individuals for the Fast Goal Strategic Planning Mission Action Planning Award. So with that, the part of the vision statement today that we are focused on is the last section, the last segment, which is SCC's commitment to student transformation intentionally encompasses the development of essential life skills, including reflective thinking, resiliency, and emotional intelligence proficiency. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Illich to lead us through a dynamic discussion today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Shauna. I also will tell you that this is one of my favorite sessions. Of course, anytime I have an opportunity to talk about Goal 9, that's always an exciting time for me. So let me start by sharing my screen and just going over this very quickly, and then we'll turn it over to the panelists. I'll start asking questions. But, you know, we like to talk about our accomplishments when we get an opportunity, especially when we have an opportunity, for example, to develop partnerships with folks. One of the things we want to do is talk about where we're going, and that's what our strategic plan has allowed us to do, is to really set a direction and move forward. But out of all of the accomplishments, the one that I kind of hesitate to use the word the accomplishment, because I don't think a Goal 9 type goal ever actually gets accomplished. I think it's always a work in progress, and I think that's a wonderful opportunity every day is to keep pursuing to create the best possible positive climate that we can. So just as a reminder, this is our Goal 9.6 to maximize a positive, engaging climate that encourages input, reflective, and transparent communication, compassion, and respect toward the views and ideas of others. Now, if that's all we had was that goal, it would be a challenge to implement that type of climate, but that's not all we have. So we went in and we defined each of those, and I'll just quickly go through each of those keywords. So respect we defined as active listening and acknowledging, and this is a really important part, not necessarily agreeing or disagreeing with the views and ideas of others. Input, this is extremely important, but we want a climate where we can offer our views and ideas, and then we can also either be respectfully challenged or respectfully challenge others. Transparency, this one is, in my mind, probably the most complicated, but that's accurate communication of information that's interpreted as intended, which is almost impossible to do necessarily, to know that you've done that, because we all have brains that are slightly different than each other, and we have different experiences. So we're not quite sure how individuals might be filtering the information that we're providing. Reflection, again, very, very challenging. Pausing and thinking about one's thoughts and emotions before reacting. Compassion, attempting to understand the thoughts, emotions, and circumstances of others without conditions. And then positivity, choosing to view one's circumstances in a realistic but hopeful way to maximize a successful outcome. So Goal 9 is really a set of skills that require routine practice in order for us to make progress. And I will tell you this is the accomplishment that I think most about when I think about SCC and what we've been doing over the last few years. So with that, Shauna, I'm going to go ahead and start asking questions. So is everybody ready? It looks like they're ready. And let me start by introducing our panelists today. I'm going to start just in the order where I'm looking at on my screen. We have Sharon Wren, who is Associate Dean of Health Sciences. We have Kevin Uller, which, Kevin, you're the Program Chair of Automotive Technology, is that correct?
I'm the Corporate Manufacturer Automotive Programs with General Motors and Auto Collision and the Professional Truck Driver Training.
Great. I should have just started by saying, tell us the title. Thanks, Kevin. And then Cindy Meyer is our coordinator at the Nebraska City Learning Center, which we just purchased a new facility. So thank you, Cindy. And Shauna, am I leaving in? Those are the three panelists we have for today. So I'll start and you guys can jump in whichever order you want to. But what I'd like for you to talk about is, what does Goal 9 mean to you and how do you use it daily? And there's no right answer to these questions. It's just an opportunity to share out with your colleagues, what does it mean to you and how do you use it on a daily basis? So whoever wants to go first, jump in.
I can start by just saying that Goal 9 is something that is talked about on a regular basis. And for me personally, it really resonates with me because for those of you that have gone through colors training, I'm super blue. And so this goal really talks about being respectful and being compassionate and communicating that way with people. And being from a learning center, we have to collaborate between divisions and departments because we are one person full-time and a part-time admin. So we can't be experts at everything. However, the collaboration and the respectful communication that happens between divisions and departments is really essential. And so the culture that has been established through Goal 9 is just fabulous. I've been around for a while to know that it hasn't always been that way with SCC, but super proud to be working for the organization as it is today with that kind of positive culture that just really is across campuses and locations.
Appreciate that, Cindy. Sharon or Kevin, you want to come in here?
Well, I like Cindy, I have been here a while and I'm coming on my 30th year, but so I've seen a lot of changes. And I will say that I worked in a number of hospitals, so I understand those settings as well. And so for me, I think Goal 9 really just is more of an environment that we've created or you've created and helped us that fosters and cares for all of us who live within it and understand it as well. So it's more, being a culture, but it's really an environment. And how I use it every day is more that right now, the job I have, I've grown my umbrella over time. So it used to be that I just had my students and then I had my program. And now I have this whole glass building of people that I'm more aware of things that go on in their lives. And I need to know that there's a lot of things that people go through that are positive and a lot of things that are negative. And I just try to make sure that when I am interacting with people, that I want them to know that we care terribly about everybody. And so we want to be there for people. And we want them to also understand that, they may be going through horrible things. There's other horrible things going on. Everything will be worked out as long as we all just care about each other. And I think that is more that we do care about each other. And I'm so thankful that we have this environment because when I worked in hospitals, I'm telling you, it was the patient's number one, which is important. But around here, it's not students are number one. Everybody's number one. And it just seems like everybody cares about everybody.
Well, Sharon, can I make a point? I did not feel like you cared about me when you made fun of my thoughts this morning. That felt a little bit targeted. Those are wonderful. I do want to say something about something you said earlier, just real quick. You said this has been us. This has been it's a journey, and we're all in different little places on the journey and working on these things. Just thinking like that one word, being reflective in our thinking, that's extremely complicated to do. And there are days when I know I'm not as reflective as maybe I could be. And so I can work on that. So I just wanted to point out that this isn't, sure, I'm the one that, was pushing that climate, but it doesn't go anywhere unless everyone buys into it. And that's certainly what we've seen. So thank you for those remarks. Kevin, it's your turn.
Well, I think everybody likes to talk about Goal 9.6. I think that's great. I honestly would tell anybody that listen, I don't think we've ever had a more positive and engaging environment in the time I've been here, which is a little over 20 years. But, one of the neat things for me specifically, I have 3 other program directors I work with regularly, Carl Eichhoff, Barry Smith, and Kirby Taylor. And those guys they're friends. and they can come up to me and tell me, hey, you've got some mustard on your collar. You need to look at that. And I could do the same. And I think that's really, really a cool thing. That mutual respect is there and that camaraderie. And it's a point of, we're not competing for students. We're not competing against each other. We're on the same team. And there have been times in the past that I don't feel that was the case. The other, I thought, some of the other part of Goal 9 talked about, our efficient communication and our decision making and things like that. And I thought of one of the examples, and Cindy was kind of a part of this. Recently, there have been some changes in the legal system regarding truck driving, and there are some law changes coming out in February that are going to make it much more difficult for people to get a CDL license. We're poised in a spot where we could really have big growth. The Nebraska Department of Roads called and said they need 220 new drivers a year,
Wow.
and their training program is no longer going to work. Wanted to know if we could be a part of that. Some of our industry partners, Cindy reached out and said we need people in the learning centers to drive school buses, to drive trucks. So long story short, we came up with some plan. The instructors came together, I did. We brought Dean Kisby some ideas and said, what do you think about this? And he took that to Dr. Michaelis, and we've got a plan in motion where we can triple our intake with the same equipment, the same space, double our staff, triple the enrollment. And what a cool opportunity, because we could have that open dialogue and have those open communications. I think that's a really, really cool thing. We've also been able to find out through some of that people want to do things on the weekend. People want to drive on the week, want to work all week. So we've got a plan. We're going to try something in January where students can come earn their CDL just on the weekend. But again, that wouldn't have happened if we couldn't communicate with each other, with the instructors, the dean, and on the way up. So I think
I really appreciate that, Kevin. I think the other thing that's really wonderful about what you just told us is Shauna talked about Wednesday. And I don't know if everyone caught this, but she reminded everyone at the college during the webinar that I was a failure. I think she said it about 10 times. I don't know if anyone caught that. I got to make a award. It says #1 failure for my failed bond. But that's the cool thing about what we can do with Goal 9 is we can create an environment where, all right, Kevin's got this idea to triple the enrollment. Maybe not only does that, it goes up 4 or 5 times. Or maybe, Kevin, it doesn't go exactly right. But we're not going to have an environment. We don't want an environment where you're worried about, hey, this may not work out just the way I think it's going to work out. No, let's try something ambitious. Let's get out there. Let's stick our necks out. Let's see what we can do. And you know what? We're going to stumble from time to time, but that's all part of getting stronger. So I do appreciate that. That's really, and I did want to mention real quick for the second question. I was in a meeting with, I think it was John Kisby, Dean Kisby, and a few others. We were talking to construction industry leaders, and it took me a little bit, well, probably not too much by surprise because I've heard it before, but here we are in the room with all these construction leaders, and I opened the dialogue by saying, what is it that you most need of our graduates? And what they said was, they said, well, we're not worried about their skill set. You've got that part figured out. But we need you to work on their life skills. And they talked about communication. They talked about eye contact, getting along a team, taking criticism from their supervisor and not getting upset and going to work for their competitor. They list, and it's not unique, of course, to SEC. Probably all colleges have that. So we have a really unique opportunity to push this down to our students. We're onboarding them now. So I do think a lot of those things you were talking about, Kevin, about being comfortable to share some ideas that might be quite a bit different than what we've done in the past. You don't have any fear. You know that you're going to be, your idea may not be implemented, but you can share it and it'll be respectfully listened to. So with that, let's go to the second question. The good news, Cindy, we've only got 3 questions, so we're gonna get this done. And let's see. So this question is, how do you believe? And we've heard some of this already, so there's a little bit of redundancy. But how do you believe Goal 9 has changed the college? If you do believe that, yeah, what are some ways in which you've seen that? So let's mix it up. Let's start with Sharon.
Okay, so I fully believe that when you got here, and I know it's not about you, but you did bring this transparent process and data-driven way of working. And I think that's a way we've improved, and our overall growth has doubled, if not tripled. I feel like we are now being very transparent, data-driven, and being able to meet our full community that we never used to even pay attention to. So we are now reaching everybody that we should have been doing since our existence. And so I feel really proud. I'm very proud of what we do, and that's how I think Goal 9 has changed SCC. I think our community feels it more too.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sharon. One of the things, that I think is real important is, let's say you have someone at the college and they're looking at the climate and the Goal 9, and they're saying, I kind of struggle with this part of the Goal 9. I never want a situation where someone says, you know what, I'm not so great at that part. Well, that's okay. That means that's an opportunity for you to work on. And so we're not weaponizing it. We want, because these things, I like to sometimes when I talk to new employees, I flip it. I take Goal 9 and I say, well, what if we had the opposite? And it doesn't make any sense. You would never want a disrespectful environment, a non-transparent, you never want any of those things. So, but it's always a work in progress. And, if there's something that you struggle with, well, challenge yourself. Say, you know what? Because you're probably never going to be perfect on any of those things. That's just not realistic. But you can always work on thinking about, how can I be more transparent? And one easy way to do it is check it out. If I tell Kevin something and I say, hey, Kevin, did you hear this? And I'm like, no, I didn't, Dr. Ocean. I got something I can work on. All right, Kevin, what do you want to add to that?
Well, I'm going to give you an example. How
Okay.
this is done. I'm a logistical minded person. And one of the things that happened a few years ago is they built a new diesel facility here. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. It's great. We're glad for those folks that went over there. We're also glad for the space they vacated, which allowed us to repurpose that for the General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler dealer automotive program, partnership programs, as well as we moved out the power sports from Lincoln campus. Well, so I logistically minded sit there and saw that and thought, great, now when we have this task being taught, we'll have twice as much equipment and there'll be less downtime for that equipment. And we can use this space more fully. And that made sense to me, right? Here's the part I missed. The part I missed in all that was that all those programs have been on a little island and now they're together and they're a team. And that camaraderie and that teamwork and that working together piece is huge. And I didn't even see it coming. So what we did a few years ago, we started our MAP goals, and one of our MAP goals, I borrowed part of the idea from Kirby Taylor and modified it. And we said we were going to meet twice a semester to discuss facilities, equipment, and things like that, right? So we got everybody in a room and we did that. Well, it led to everybody deciding that we really need this one piece of equipment. We need an alignment machine. And it's about a, $75,000 investment. So those programs all came together and said, here's what we want to do. We want to put all our eggs in one basket for capital equipment. We want one thing. All of our programs, put all of our capital in one spot, and we can share this, utilize it. And so great. So we took that to the dean. That all went through, and long story short, now we have that ball in motion that's coming. So that was a really, really, really cool thing where the logistics did come back out of the teamwork and the camaraderie. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really nice example of, I think, how Goal 9's helping to have us think a little bit differently and collaboratively. So thank you for that, Kevin. Cindy, it's your turn. What are you thinking about that question?
So I think that there's a couple of words that come to mind when I think about the changes over time with Southeast Community College. I started in the what was then called adult education, now called continuing ed, here in Nebraska City in 1977. So that's been a while ago too. And at that time, it was really very black and white, cut and dried. So the two words that come to mind for me are flexibility and courageous, because I feel like SCC has become courageous in the way that they do business. And I think that the data-driven stuff, so as I mentioned, I'm blue, and Goal 9 has a lot of data-driven parts to it. And I think what that has done for me and for our location here at the Learning Center is the data gives you courage. It gives you something to stand on. When you have a feeling about something and you come up with the data to support it, it's easier to be creative or courageous. And so I think the flexibility has really been a huge part of the growth for SCC and continues to be. And just thinking outside of that box. And it seems like to me that across the board, the feeling that I get when I work with other divisions and other departments and other experts, whether it be financial aid or registration or admissions or whatever it is, we're all serving people. In my mind, I come from a retail and business background. And so they're, to me, they're customers, even if they're a student or if they're an instructor, they're either internal or external customers. And I have seen across the board, these divisions and the people that work within them, treating people with respect, and they find the time to help others without rolling their eyes. When we're so busy and we are wrapped up in what we're doing day to day, it's pretty easy to not, or to feel like you're put upon if you have to help somebody else with something. I do not see that with SCC and haven't for a number of years. And I think that really is also another thing that helps us to be courageous. There we go, sorry. But I think that allows us to know that somebody's got our back. We don't have to be the expert in everything, but we sure know how to find those experts. And so for us as learning centers, particularly where we have small staff, that ability to know that you're going to not have somebody roll their eyes at you when you ask a question, and you reach out to other divisions and you get not only the information you're looking for, but a partner on the other end that's willing to help you along the way. So I absolutely think that it has changed the college and will continue to do that.
I really like those points, and Cindy, and I do want to make a pledge to you that if you and I are talking and I say something really annoying to you and you can roll your eyes at me, I would just ask you to be transparent and say, Dr. Rose, by the way, I'm rolling my eyes at you because that was annoying to me. I'd be comfortable with that.
Okay, I promise to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
I did want to make a point. This is what a superstar set of panelists we have. I love that word courageous, is one of the things when I was running competitively as a master's runner, I had someone say to me, wow, you really know how to push yourself on these races. And I thought, actually, no, it looks like that. But when you're running 80 miles a week for a very long period of time, it's actually much easier to run faster. And I'm putting probably a lot less effort than someone that only trained 20 miles a week. I'm actually working not as hard, but I'm going faster. So my point, though, to bring that back to being courageous in terms of SCC, well, it was probably pretty courageous when we jumped out there in the bond and all of that. But what a great message my board gave me. Paula, we know this might not pass, but we believe in you and we believe you're going to get it done irrespective. They let me fail. They encouraged it. They were good with it. And so they're continuing to fully support that courageous behavior. So we want to climb it with goal 9 to where, while it might look like someone's being courageous, but because it's much easier to be courageous when you know your environment, like Kevin described that new trucking opportunity, that might come across as real courageous, and it is to some extent, but it's much easier. It would be probably much more courageous if we didn't have a climate that was accepting. So we want to make it really easy to come up with these courageous things. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we're incubating, we're promoting this kind of courageous behavior, but it's really much easier if we get the climate right. Last question, we're doing really well. Shauna would be so proud of us. She's going to give us some kind of trinket. I'm pretty sure about that. All right. I think I'm gonna get in trouble with Shauna. But you know what? I've got total power. I'm gonna kick her off as the host. Okay. Which of the, no, I think she is a co-host, so I gotta behave myself. Which of the goal 9 skills, I listed them early, reflective thinking, positivity, input, compassion, transparency, and respect, do you use most often? Which one is your kind of favorite? You don't have to pick a favorite here, but just which one of those really connects with you? Let's start with Kevin. Let's see, did we lose Kevin?
Maybe start with Cindy this time, Dr. Illich.
Okay, great. Let's start with Cindy.
So I think respect would be if I was to pick one. I was raised to be respectful of others, and I have a favorite song that I certainly won't sing it to you, but it's called In the Basket. And it's a story of Moses, and some of the words in it are, we don't know who we have in the basket. We don't know who they'll become. That's why from the cradle to the casket, we must learn to cherish everyone. And that is a 9.6 song verbiage. And so I just, that's the way I was raised. And I hope that anyone I've come in contact with feels like I've been respectful. Because it seems like a natural to me to be respectful of others, no matter what level they're at in life, period, and what culture they come from. So for me, that definitely would be respect.
Thank you, Cindy. Let's go to Sharon next.
I would start by saying I've always been a very positive person. So I have that going for me, but I think now with what's going on in our world, I have really shifted to some heavy, again, respectful compassion. I like to combine them because you have to be respectful. And I have so much more compassion now. And I feel like I've got the freedom to be able to feel that and show that to people as well, just because of our environment. And I want to share that today someone taught me something new. We were doing an activity with some faculty, and I was instructed on what something called intellectual, oh my gosh, the word just left my mind, humility, intellectual humility. And I thought, I'd never really heard of this before. And in this time, in this age, it's being able to be a very good listener and trying to, if in a conversation with another person, a student, a fellow faculty member, if you're going to discuss something that might not be fun to talk about, the best thing to do is find your common ground. And so have intellectual humility and find things that you both agree on. And I think that's a really great place for all of us to be able to start. And then if you find that you're going to be saying things that might trigger each other, go back and back up again until you find that common ground. And I just think when we have mutual respect and compassion, we can go really far right now in these times that are hard.
I appreciate both of those responses, Cindy and Sharon. Shauna, do we kind of?
We are working on getting Kevin back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It looks like
I was gonna pretend
there
I was
he is.
Kevin, but
There
Kevin,
it is.
glad that you're back. We were talking, the last question was, which of the goal 9 skills, reflective thinking, positivity, and compassion, respect, and so forth, which of those do you particularly connect to or do you use most often? Or what one of them might be your favorite? What are your thoughts on that? Oh, you're
Kevin,
muted.
go ahead.
Kevin, I think you're muted. Kevin, I think you're still muted, it looks like.
There we go. How about that?
Perfect.
Let's talk about positivity, even if we have network issues, right?
Exactly.
I'm excited. You know, we have amazing opportunities for our students. We have amazing opportunities for people in our area, retraining people. And we've got some of the best technical experts, knowledge-based experts, skill experts anywhere, you know. What's really cool about this is we tell people all the time that come through, if you get a skill and you want to work, sky's the limit, right? And for me, it's automotive type stuff. For somebody else, it's a health science program, or it's welding, or it's an ag production, or it's building a house. I don't care if we come here for our general education certificate, we're going to further our education somewhere else. What a tremendous value and a tremendous opportunity. And I also think that the other one besides positivity is compassion. You know, we've got instructors here that would do anything for our students. I feel like our instructors would come in early, stay late, do whatever they can to reach out to that student. If that student's willing to make that attempt, they would. And again, another example, I just noticed I knew recently we had an instructor with an accident. He's in the hospital. Well, a couple of us went and saw him. That was kind of neat, right? That was a compassionate thing. Today, I heard 2 instructors talking about how they're going to take meals to help this instructor out. But, they don't have to do that. What a way to reach out, right? And similarly, we've seen students that have a vehicle broke down and can't get home on the weekend. People will fix their vehicle for them, or coming in early, or trying to re-explain something in a different way. So I think positivity and compassion are things that we have that we really excel at and we need to take advantage of.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Kevin. I see those same things on a regular basis here at the college. And, it seems like a long time ago now, it's hard to believe I've been here 7 years, but I remember when I was applying for the position of presidency here at the college, I had an opportunity. It was quick, but I had an opportunity to meet so many different faculty and staff. And it became obvious very quickly as I was, going through that interview process that the SCC had really unbelievable, passionate, caring people as faculty and staff. And, that's something, if you're going to be a president somewhere, boy, it's hard to change that if you didn't have that. And so I saw the incredible programs, incredible staff and faculty. And then that was one of the most compelling reasons why I wanted to pursue this job, or was hoping I would be the one that was selected once I went through that interview process, because I knew we needed some investment in some of the things we were doing, but I knew we had one of the most important things in place, and that was wonderful. As you pointed out, Kevin, extremely gifted folks here, but also very compassionate, very helpful individuals and inclusive individuals. Well, for a second there, we had 2 Kevins. That's the only thing better than 1 Kevin. It's 2 Kevins. Okay. Well, those were the three. I will just, since we got a little bit of time, I will mention that if I were a panelist and someone asked me, I probably would lean toward reflective thinking, and that probably doesn't surprise anyone. But I love that aspect of reflective thinking. The other one, well, the 2 that I would lean toward is reflective thinking and transparency. And I will tell you all that I discovered something about transparency. It was there, but I wasn't fully understanding or embracing it. And we defined it as accurate communication of information that's interpreted as intended. But the part that I was missing, and it's easy to miss, let's say I'm saying something to Kevin, we're having a nice conversation, and I inadvertently upset him. And I said something that he found kind of insulting, but it wasn't my intention. But Kevin says to me, "Hey, Dr. Ehlers, I find that a little bit, that bothered me, that upset me. I find that insulting, or it was upsetting." The normal way to react would be like, "Kevin, I don't know what you're talking about. I meant to say something nice to you." Now, what happens there? That's defensive, because I'm thinking, I didn't say anything insulting. What do you misread me? See, that's the part that I was missing, because the reality of it is that that's what Kevin heard. He heard something that upset him. So all I have to do is acknowledge that and believe it. I believe, Kevin, that you were upset by what I just said. And for that, I apologize. Now we have an opportunity to move on. And it might be that Kevin's still upset, and I can say, "Kevin, hey, can I try that again and see if I can be more transparent? Because you heard not exactly what I was hoping you would hear, but it's really you. So I understand that you might be too upset right now. Maybe we can try tomorrow." Or you can say, "No, I'm good. Let's try again." And we can, but if I don't acknowledge that's what you heard, then you're sitting there going, "He's not even listening to me. He just insulted me, and I told him, and he says he didn't." And so that's the part, the little nuance of that transparency I have found fascinating. Because what does it cost for me to say, I know that you heard that, and for that I apologize? What does that cost, Sharon? Does that cost anything? There's
A
nothing.
huge gift, huge
Well,
gift.
it's good for me because now I'm
Mhm.
paying attention to what you actually heard. Does it matter? It's not what I thought I said. That's not relevant. It just, they're giving me information that says, you're trying to say something that I'm not able to hear right now. So you need to keep working on it. Cindy's looking at me like, I don't know about that. Doctor. I'm not sure. That is tricky. That is a tricky thing. But anything else any of you want to mention as it relates to the climate here at the college? This is your time. So Kevin, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I just think one thing, and that is, I feel like we've never had, like I said before, more open and engaging opportunities to have communication. And yet at the same time, I have to say that we have to have respect and trust for those in authority and leadership too, right? And I know that if I bring up an idea to my dean or to Dr. Michaelis and they don't like it, or they think it's a bad idea or it's not feasible, fine, they'll tell me that, but they'll also tell me why. And then we can figure out how to maybe overcome that hurdle. Or I can just respect them at the end of the day and say, okay, you know what? We know enough about them that we trust that they're doing what's best, and agree or disagree, we can be respectful about it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I have similar conversations, with my board as to, when we're working on things, there will be individuals at the college that will have different ideas. And we try to create opportunities for shared governance. When we do create opportunities for all of our main initiatives, we've had committees, we get lots of input, but at some point we have to make a decision and move forward with the best data possible. And I can tell you that some of the folks that might have a different opinion, I know this. I know that we've created a culture now where they're able to set that aside and say, okay, they've listened. Now we're going to help, even if we at one point didn't think that was the best idea, let's help make it happen. That's a powerful entity when you get to where you can do that. And that's really important, because then you want people that I had a comment one time from one of my admin team members. When I first came here to the college, I was talking about sharing out some of my expectations of my leaders and my admin team. And one of them was, we talked about loyalty, not just to me, but to the college. And someone said, well, whoa, hold up now, Dr. Ilitch, I'm not a yes person. And I said, whoa. I said, let's back up. A yes person that just says yes is the opposite of loyal. They're actually, I want the person to disagree with me. I want Kevin to say, Dr. Ilitch, yeah, I know you think this is a great idea, but can I share why I don't think that? And I want Kevin to do that. That is loyalty, because he knows that he's trying to help me. And by just saying yes because it seems more comfortable, that's not helpful. So that's, I think, really, really important. Cindy, what are you thinking? Kind of just our wrap up.
Okay, I think that as Goal 9 has become part of our DNA, it also affects who we bring in as team members, who the folks that are hired, whether we are consciously thinking about it or not. When we're sitting on those teams where people are interviewing, we're looking for the Goal 9 to shine. And I think that that's what has created such a great team within the college as a whole, because that is now our DNA, and it's in what we say and do daily. And it's the people, it's the characteristics and the behaviors that we look for in people. So then that becomes just who we are. And yeah, Goal 9 definitely changed us.
And I think that's one of my favorite activities. In fact, I've got one coming up on Tuesday, and I love this activity. Jolene Stutzman gives me she's very generous with her time. She gives me 30 to 45 minutes during she's responsible for all new employee orientation. It's my first opportunity to get in front of an employee, and I role play Goal 9. We talk about it. We talk about all of our strategic goals quickly, and we talk about the direction of the college. But then I tell them they're going to help create a Goal 9, but they need to know what it is. And we role play it. We try all kinds of things. It's really awesome. So I totally agree. And we have it in our hiring documents. We try to hire someone that would be comfortable. They don't have to already be a Goal 9 champion or perfect at it, but we want to make sure when we interview people, they're interviewing us too. And we want to give them a chance to think about that. Is Goal 9 climate sound like something you want to be part of? That's really important. I appreciate that, Cindy. And Sharon, we're gonna.
Yeah, I have a couple things I just quickly want to share. Since I've never felt it myself as a marketer, because it's not my comfort to market something unless it would be fabulous. Being now in charge of interviews, I have so many people at the end of their interviews ask that question, why do I want to work for you guys? And it's just about the easiest thing for me to answer. And I sometimes have to cut back on how much I share, because there's just so many things that make this place the absolute best place to work. And so the more I can get the perfect people, and they start right off the bat with, Goal 9 thoughts, that's so important. And the second thing I thought of, which was bad, I should have been thinking of what you're saying, but when we're talking and you made the comment about forward, and you talked about forward in a couple ways, and I thought, I remember when the bond didn't pass and I was devastated, and I know you were devastated. And I thought to myself, how are we going to go forward with this? Because it usually is a stopper, and you think that the public probably thinks, oh, well, that was our message. Well, they didn't send that message. What they ended up giving you was a lot more momentum. And I think it gave you so much push. And if you just look out every single window of every single building, everyone can see that nothing got in our way to go forward. And you never let anything get in the way. And that's what makes it so amazing to be a part of. Nothing gets in the way of moving forward, no matter how.
This is a true story, Sharon. I appreciate those remarks. A true story. I wouldn't say I was devastated necessarily. Certainly would have preferred that it had passed. But so now Gail, my wife Gail, she was very worried about me, because she goes, I'm very worried because why are you so calm? I saw right away, the numbers coming in. I said, yeah, it's not going to pass. It's not even going to be close. So I knew that, and I just was quiet. I didn't say anything. Kevin, you'll be surprised by this. I didn't run outside my yard and start screaming, yelling at everybody. Didn't do any of that. I was just quiet, and Gail goes, well, what now? And I said, well, it's already happened. She goes, what's happened? I said, Plan B, it's launched. I never asked whether or not we're going to move forward on things. We just asked how to do it. And the voter, and we're going to respect the voter. Our voters said, we didn't have a single opposition group that said, don't do it. In fact, they said, well, we think you're great. We know you need to modernize, but we want you to do it without going up in your authority. And so that's what we're doing. And so in a way, we were kind of given a mandate by the voter, and we're following that mandate. So it's kind of just a tremendous opportunity when you get pushed like that. It's a great thing.
I also think that if you get something given to you, sometimes you don't appreciate it as much. And I think that you've worked so hard. We've all worked. So I just think it means so much more.
Yeah, I appreciate all of you. Let's see, Shauna, I'm about spot on, it looks like, 4 minutes out. Thank you, Cindy, Kevin, and Sharon. You guys were unbelievably good. You made me look like a rookie. I gotta step the game up next time.
We're just one of many.
Good job. Good job. Shauna, how did we do?
That was amazing. Lots of positive comments through the chat, affirming and reflecting on some of the points made. Thank you all for sharing your perspective related to Goal 9, how each one of you are exuding elements of Goal 9 in multiple ways. Thanks again for joining us. Panelists, if you want to just hide your camera now, we're going to proceed through the rest of the presentation today, but thank you so much to all of you for joining today. All right, I am going to share my screen here. The last couple of minutes of our strategic planning week celebration today, we're going to continue to recognize a couple of rock stars when it comes to planning at SCC. For those of you who have just joined today and haven't been able to tune into some of the other daily presentations we have, SCC shifted from using a SMART goal model to FAST goal model a few years ago. And we used the FAST goal model to develop our mission action plans. Kevin had referenced that earlier in the panel discussion. Those mission action plans are what bring the strategic plan to life. At any given year, on any given year, there's between 300 and 500 unique initiatives happening college-wide that help drive the strategic plan forward. On Monday, we recognized an outstanding area, an outstanding leader for the frequently discussed component of the FAST goal model, Kat Krakemeyer and the admissions team. On Tuesday, we talked about setting ambitious goals, and that we recognize the English department and their program directors for outstanding collaboration and coordination to achieve a very ambitious goal during this last year over the pandemic. And then on Wednesday, as we heard earlier, we recognize Dr. Illich for another ambitious goal related to the bond. And then on Thursday, we acknowledged Amy Chesley and the Continuing Education Division, as well as Tony Landenberger for their outstanding work developing measures and milestones to ensure specific goals were developed, specific out of this FAST goal model. And today is transparency. The benefits of making transparent goals is that it encourages collaboration and promotes positive recognition and innovation. This year's inaugural FAST Goal Award for Transparency is awarded to Barry Smith and Kevin Euler. Barry serves as the program director over the Automotive Technology and Power Sports program. And Kevin, as you heard earlier in the panel discussion, is the program director for Auto Collision Repair, the Automotive Partnership programs, and the Professional Truck Driver Training program. As we discussed, or as we learned, while their roles have shifted a little bit over the last couple of years in terms of which area they're leading, their commitment to excellence has only strengthened. From within the first year of beginning their roles, at that time, which was a shared program director over the automotive technology programs. So within the first month of beginning their roles, Barry and Kevin had an unmatched desire to work collaboratively and strengthen team building within their programs. They actively worked to align their curriculum, cross-train their faculty, strengthen their student experiences, and promote opportunities for enrollment growth. Kevin and Barry promote transparency in their programs by making frequent efforts to communicate with their program, faculty, and students. Their leadership has promoted collaboration and communication. In fact, they even chose to move into a shared office space to make that communication occur even more naturally. They support one another's needs for equipment, lab and classroom spaces, and faculty to maximize successful outcomes. You heard Kevin share a great example of that earlier in the presentation. The result of Barry's and Kevin's transparency, collaboration, and communication has involved shared recruiting, even though their programs could be considered in competition for a similar student pool. Their dean, John Kisby, describes them both as having an authentic desire to find the right spot for every incoming student, which has resulted in an uptick in student enrollment across their programs. John also notes, and I think we all have had this experience, John notes that it is hard to be around either one of these guys and leave discouraged. They always have a hopeful path forward and the plan to go along with it. Barry and Kevin both exude positivity, respect, and transparency, resulting in outstanding collaboration and innovation. Please join me in congratulating Barry and Kevin for leading with transparency at SCC. Thank you, Barry and Kevin. We have had a full, exciting, and fun week together celebrating SCC's vision, some of the initiatives that have that are continuing to drive us forward to, again, better serve our 15 county service area. And I wanted to just bring the opportunity one more time, and along with this topic for today, that it is not too late to participate in the Strategic Planning Week Goal 9.6 shout out. I'm going to send the link through the chat. If you would like to recognize anyone from your area, anyone that you interact with that exudes one or more of the qualities for Goal 9.6, please give them a shout out. Both you and the person that you're recognizing will be entered into a drawing that we will announce next week. What I do want to comment related to this, there have been close to 70 responses, 70 recognitions that have come in so far. And one of the people who have received the most yet is John Kisby, who of course is the dean for Kevin and Barry's area. And I don't think that that is a coincidence that an outstanding dean is leading two outstanding leaders, many, many more for that area. And I just wanted to thank them all for their continuing work to strengthen the Goal 9 DNA, as Cindy described. So please continue to send those in, those shout outs in through the end of the day. In closing today, just wanted to thank each one of you for your commitment to SCC's future, SCC's carrying out the strategic vision for the college. Each one of us plays such an important role in our interactions at the college, no matter if that's with students in an advising role, teaching, administration, support service. It takes each one of us to continue to carry out the vision of Goal 9.6 and be able to continue to strengthen the college. Appreciate each one of you. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Have a great day. Bye-bye.